The clink of champagne glasses froze midair when my mother leaned across the banquet table, smiled with all teeth and no warmth, and said, "You don't need this money, I raised you." Her manicured fingers closed around the envelope addressed to Betsy and husband. Our wedding gift money. She slid it straight into her purse while guests laughed unaware. My ears rang. My throat burned. She didn't even whisper. She claimed it. I owned it. Dared me to react. I stood there in my white dress, feeling the lace suddenly tight against my ribs. My husband's hand found mine under the table. He squeezed once. A question without words. I squeezed back. Not here, not now. The DJ announced the cake cutting. People moved toward the dessert table. My mother smoothed her dress and walked away, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor like little victories. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She knew I wouldn't make a scene. She had trained me too well. That night, staring at the ceiling while my husband slept beside me, I realized something terrifying and clarifying at the same time. My mother didn't see me as her daughter. She saw me as an extension, a resource, a thing she could take from without consequence. I forced a smile for the rest of the reception. My cheeks ached from holding it. People hugged me, told me I looked beautiful, and said my mother must be so proud. I nodded. I thanked them. I kept my hands steady when I cut the cake. I kept my voice light when I gave my speech. But inside, I was screaming. Every laugh felt like glass in my throat. Every compliment about my mother felt like a betrayal I had to swallow. She stood near the gift table, accepting congratulations, glowing in her emerald dress. The mother of the bride, the star of someone else's show. My best friend Rachel pulled me aside near the bathroom. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Her eyes were worried. She had seen something. Maybe not the theft, but the shift in my face. The way I had gone pale for just a second. "I'm fine," I lied. The words came out automatic, practiced. I had been fine my whole life. Fine when she took credit for my college essays. Fine when she wore white to my engagement party. Fine, fine, fine. Rachel didn't believe me, but she didn't push. The music swelled. My husband appeared, pulling me toward the dance floor. I let him lead me. I let the moment carry me. But my mind stayed at that table, watching those manicured fingers close around what wasn't hers. 20 minutes before the reception ended, I went to the restroom to fix my makeup. The door swung open behind me. I knew it was her before I even looked. I could smell her perfume. Expensive. Floral. The kind that lingers. "You're not going to say anything, are you?" she asked. Not a question. A statement. She stood behind me in the mirror, adjusting her earrings. Casual, comfortable. "Why did you take it?" My voice came out quieter than I wanted. She laughed, soft, dismissive. "Betsy, don't be dramatic. I spent 30 years raising you, feeding you, clothing you, driving you everywhere. Do you know how much that cost me?" She met my eyes in the reflection. "This isn't stealing. This is me collecting what I'm owed." My hands gripped the edge of the sink. That money was from our friends, from our family. It was for our future. "Your future is fine," she said, waving her hand like she was swatting a fly. "You have jobs, you'll figure it out. I, on the other hand, deserve something nice. I deserve to be appreciated." She turned toward the door, pausing with her hand on the handle. "Besides, who are they going to believe? Me or the daughter who's always been difficult?" The door closed. I stared at my reflection. My makeup was perfect. My dress was perfect. But my eyes looked hollow. This wasn't impulse. It was planned. "My name is Betsy. I'm 28 years old. I work as an event coordinator for a boutique hospitality company in the city. I organize weddings, corporate galas, and birthday parties. I'm good at details. I'm good at making people feel special. I'm good at keeping calm when things go wrong. I met my husband, David, 3 years ago at a charity auction I was organizing. He was bidding on a weekend getaway package. I was managing the volunteer check-in table. He made a joke about the auction hammer. I laughed. We talked for 2 hours after the event ended. David is steady, kind. He doesn't yell. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't take things that aren't his. When I told him about my mother, I really told him, and he listened without interrupting. He didn't try to fix it. He just held my hand and said, "You deserved better." The wedding gift money was supposed to help us put a down payment on a small house. Nothing fancy, just something of ours, a place to start. We had been saving for months, but the market was brutal. That envelope held nearly $4,000. Cash, checks, gift cards, every single one labeled with love and best wishes. My mother took it all, and this wasn't the first time she crossed a line. When I turned 16, I won a regional art competition. The prize was $500 and a feature in the local newspaper. My painting was abstract, blues and grays. It was about feeling invisible. My mother framed the newspaper clipping and hung it in her office. She told everyone at her book club that she had always encouraged my creativity. She told her coworkers that art ran in the family. She never mentioned that I used my babysitting money to buy the canvas, or that I painted in the garage because she said the smell of acrylics gave her headaches. When I graduated college, she threw a party. She invited all her friends. She gave a speech about sacrifice and single motherhood. She cried. People hugged her. They told her she was amazing. I stood in the corner holding a plastic cup of punch, watching her collect praise like coins in a jar. At 23, I got promoted at work. My boss called me into her office and told me I was being moved to senior coordinator. More responsibility, more pay. I was so excited I called my mother immediately. "That's nice, honey," she said. Then she spent 15 minutes talking about her book club drama. She never asked about the promotion again. But 2 weeks later, she mentioned to her sister that I was doing well because she had taught me work ethic. I finally saw the pattern clearly. She didn't celebrate with me. She harvested me. David and I got home around midnight. The apartment felt too quiet after the noise of the reception. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my wedding dress, staring at the wall. "Do you want to talk about it?" David asked gently. He had taken off his tie. His sleeves were rolled up. He looked tired but worried. "She took the money," I said. My voice sounded flat, empty. "I know. You saw." "I saw her take the envelope. I didn't know what to do." He sat beside me. "I'm sorry, I should have stopped her." I shook my head. She would have made a scene. She would have turned it around, made me look ungrateful. I pulled off my veil, setting it on the dresser. "Do you know how much was in there?" "Around 4,000. 4,200. I counted earlier." I laughed, but it came out bitter. I actually counted it before the reception started because I was excited. I wanted to know exactly how much love we had. My hands twisted in my lap, and she just took it like it was nothing. David wrapped his arm around my shoulders. "We'll be okay. We'll save again." "It's not about the money," I whispered. "It's about what it represents. She doesn't see me as a person. She sees me as something she owns, something she can take from." I looked at him. "And I let her. I've always let her." That night, I did the math. I calculated everything. I didn't sleep. Instead, I lay in the dark, thinking. My mother had taught me something valuable over the years, even if she didn't mean to. She taught me that people believe what they want to believe. They believe in the performance, the smile, the carefully constructed image. She had spent decades building hers. The devoted single mother, the hardworking professional, the generous friend. People loved her. They thought she was warm, caring, self-sacrificing. But I knew the truth, and now I have proof, not just of the wedding theft, but of a lifetime of taking. 2 days after the wedding, an envelope arrived in the mail. Cream-colored, expensive paper, my mother's handwriting. Inside was an invitation. Her 60th birthday party, black tie, catered, at the Windsor Estate, the same upscale venue where I had coordinated events for the past 2 years. I stared at the invitation. The date was 6 weeks away. The venue held 200 people. The deposit alone was thousands of dollars. David read over my shoulder. "Are you going to go?" I smiled, not the forced smile from the wedding, a real one, calm, clear. "Yes," I said. "I think I will." He looked at me carefully. "What are you planning?" "Nothing illegal," I said. "Nothing cruel, just the truth." I set the invitation on the counter. She handed me the microphone. I'm just going to use it. The Windsor estate sat on 3 acres of manicured gardens just outside the city. Stone facade, crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a fountain courtyard. I had coordinated 12 events there in the past 18 months. I knew the layout. I knew the staff. I knew the manager, Patricia, who handled bookings and billing. We had worked together so often that she trusted my judgment. When vendors asked questions, they called me. When timeline issues came up, I solved them. The Monday after receiving my mother's invitation, I stopped by the venue for a different client meeting. Patricia waved me into her office afterward. "Hey, I saw your mother booked her birthday party here," she said, pulling up the reservation on her computer. "Didn't realize you two were related until I saw the same last name." "Small world," I said lightly. Patricia scrolled through the details. "She's going big, full catering package, premium bar, live band." She put down a hefty deposit. She glanced at me. "Actually, she mentioned you might help coordinate some family photos during the event, said you were in the business." "She mentioned that," I lied smoothly. "I'd be happy to help." "Great, let me know if you need anything." Patricia handed me a printed timeline. "She's got the venue from 6 to midnight." I took the paper, scanned it. Everything was expensive. Everything was extravagant. This wasn't a birthday party. It was a performance, and it was about to overlap perfectly with my access. I went to work the next day and pulled up my company's vendor portal. We used a shared system to track client payments, deposits, and outstanding balances. It wasn't public information, but it wasn't locked away either. If you worked with the venue regularly, you had access. I typed in my mother's name. The booking appeared. Deposit paid 2 weeks before my wedding. Final payment due 1 week before the party. I stared at the payment method. It wasn't her personal credit card. It was listed under a joint account. The secondary name on the account was my aunt, her older sister, Margaret. My stomach flipped. I pulled out my phone and called my aunt. We weren't close, but we were cordial. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Betsy, how are you, sweetheart? How was the honeymoon?" "We're skipping it for now," I said. "Saving money. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Mom mentioned she's throwing a big birthday party. I wanted to contribute, but I don't want to step on any toes. Are you helping her pay for it?" There was a pause. "Pay for it? Honey, I thought the family was chipping in. She told me everyone was contributing to a gift fund for the venue." My hand tightened around the phone. "A gift fund?" "Yes, she said you were organizing it, that you were collecting money from family members to help cover costs." Margaret's voice shifted, uncertain now. "Was that not true?" I closed my eyes. "Aunt Margaret, did you give her money?" $2,000 last month." Her voice dropped. "Betsy, what's going on?" "I'll call you back," I said. I hung up before she could ask more questions. I sat in my car in the parking lot, gripping the steering wheel. My mother had told my aunt that I was organizing a family gift fund. She had collected money under my name, money that was supposed to be a collective family contribution, but I had never been asked. I had never organized anything. She had used me as cover, again. I pulled up my bank records on my phone, scrolled back to the weeks before my wedding. I had given my mother $500 to help pay for flowers. She said the florist needed a deposit and she was short. I had sent it without question. The flowers at my wedding were beautiful. But when I checked the florist invoice later, the deposit had been paid in full weeks before I gave her the money. My $500 had gone somewhere else. I called the venue. Patricia answered. "Hey, quick question," I said, keeping my voice casual. "For my mom's party, did she pay the deposit from a joint account?" "Let me check," I heard typing. "Yes, joint account with Margaret Lawson." "And the final payment, is that coming from the same account?" "No, actually. She requested to split it. Half from the joint account, half from a personal card ending in 4721. I thanked her and hung up. I knew that card number. It was the emergency credit card my grandmother had left to my mother and aunt when she passed. It was supposed to be used only for family emergencies, medical bills, urgent repairs. Not birthday parties. The irony was unbearable. I spent the next 2 weeks compiling receipts, not in secret, not sneaking around, just pulling together documentation I already had access to, bank statements, vendor invoices, family text messages. I created a simple spreadsheet, nothing fancy, just dates, amounts, and sources. I didn't include accusations, just facts. My mother had collected $6,000 from family members under the pretense of a group gift fund I was supposedly organizing. She had used my name without my permission. She had borrowed money from me under false pretenses. She had taken our wedding gift money without asking. None of this was hidden. She had been careless. She felt untouchable. She thought no one would question her. She thought I wouldn't say anything because I never had before. But silence isn't the same as agreement, and documentation isn't the same as revenge. I printed the spreadsheet. I didn't highlight anything. I didn't add notes. I just let the numbers sit there. Clean, clear, undeniable. David found me at the kitchen table one night, staring at the papers. "Are you really going to do this?" he asked. "I'm going to tell the truth," I said. "That's all. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to cause a scene. I'm just going to let people see what's already there." He sat across from me, and if she denies it, then she denies it, I said. But the numbers don't lie, and I'm not the only person she's taken from. I folded the papers carefully. She handed me the microphone when she invited me. I'm just going to use it. The week before the party, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Betsy, I'm so glad I caught you." Her voice was bright, cheerful. "I wanted to ask a favor. Would you be willing to say a few words at my party? Nothing long, just a little toast from my daughter. People would love it." I paused, let the silence stretch. Then I said, "Of course, Mom, I'd be happy to." "Oh, wonderful, you're such a good girl. I knew I could count on you," she laughed. "And wear something nice. Navy blue would look lovely on you. Not white, obviously. This is my night." "I understand," I said. "Great, I'll see you Saturday. Love you." She hung up before I could respond. I set the phone down. David was watching me from the couch. "She asked you to give a speech." "She did." "And you said yes." "I did." He shook his head slowly. "She has no idea, does she?" "None," I said. I went to the closet and pulled out a navy dress. Simple, elegant, nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention away from my words. I held it up to the light. She underestimates silence. She always has. The night before the party, I practiced. Not in front of a mirror, just quietly in my head while I folded laundry. I didn't memorize a script. I didn't write anything down. I just thought about what I wanted to say. I wanted to thank her for teaching me what manipulation looked like, for showing me how people could smile while they took from you, for giving me a blueprint of exactly who I didn't want to become. But I also wanted to ask questions, simple ones, questions that people could verify on their own. When did you tell Aunt Margaret I was organizing a gift fund? How much did the flowers at my wedding actually cost? What was the emergency that required Grandma's credit card? Not accusations, just curiosity. The kind of curiosity that makes people start checking their own receipts, their own bank accounts, their own memories. David came into the bedroom. "Are you nervous?" "No," I said, and I wasn't. I felt calm, clear. For the first time in weeks, my hands weren't shaking. My chest wasn't tight. "I'm ready." "What if she interrupts you?" "Then she interrupts me," I said. "But everyone will see her do it, and that will tell them everything they need to know." He kissed my forehead. "I'm proud of you." "Don't be proud yet," I said. "Wait until it's over." Saturday arrived. I woke up early, made coffee, I ate breakfast, I showered, I did my makeup, put on the navy dress. I looked in the mirror, I looked calm, professional, forgettable. Perfect. David drove us to the venue. The sun was setting. The stone facade glowed golden in the light. Cars filled the parking lot, expensive ones, my mother's friends, her coworkers, family members I hadn't seen in years. We walked inside. The chandeliers sparkled. A live band played jazz near the bar. Tables were draped in white linen. Centerpieces of white roses and gold candles. Everything was elegant. Everything was expensive. My mother stood near the entrance, greeting guests. She wore a floor-length silver gown. Her hair was styled perfectly. She looked radiant, happy, untouchable. When she saw me, she smiled. "Betsy, you came and you wore navy, perfect." She hugged me, air kisses on both cheeks, then she leaned close. "Remember, keep the speech short. This is my night." "I remember," I said. She floated away, pulled into conversations. I watched her work the room, gracious, charming, the center of everything. David squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "I'm perfect," I said, and I meant it. Dinner was served at 7, salmon, roasted vegetables, champagne. I sat at a table near the back with David and a few distant cousins. We made small talk. I smiled. I laughed at appropriate moments. I kept my voice light. At 8, the band took a break. My mother stood up. Someone handed her a microphone. She thanked everyone for coming. She talked about turning 60, about gratitude, about how lucky she was to have such a wonderful family. "And speaking of family," she said, her voice warm, "I want to take a moment to acknowledge how much support I've received this year. Organizing this party wasn't easy, but so many of you contributed. So many of you helped make this night possible, and I want to thank you." People clapped. My Aunt Margaret smiled from her table. She thought my mother was thanking her for the $2,000. She thought the gift fund was real. "I also want to thank my daughter, Betsy," my mother continued. She gestured toward me. "She's been so helpful, always so giving. She learned that from me." More applause. I stood up, smoothed my dress. I walked toward the front. My heels clicked softly on the marble floor. The room quieted. David watched from his seat, his face unreadable. My mother handed me the microphone. "Don't be shy, honey. Tell everyone how much you love your dear old mom." I took the microphone, smiled, let the silence settle, then I began. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I said. My voice was steady, calm. "My mother is right. This is a special occasion. 60 years is a milestone, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak." My mother beamed. She thought this was going exactly as planned. "I've been thinking a lot lately about generosity," I continued, "about what it means to give, to support, to contribute." I looked around the room. My mother taught me a lot about that. Nods, smiles. People were listening but not closely, not yet. "She taught me that family takes care of each other, that when someone needs help, you step up, that you do what needs to be done, even when it's hard." I paused. For example, when my mother needed help organizing this party, she reached out to family members. She asked for contributions. She said we were all pitching in together. My Aunt Margaret's face changed slightly, a flicker of attention. "And people responded," I said, "because that's what family does." Aunt Margaret contributed $2,000. Uncle Paul sent $500. My cousin Jessica sent $1,000. Altogether over $6,000. The room was quieter now. People were doing math in their heads. "My mother told them I was organizing the collection," I said. My tone stayed light, curious. Which was interesting because no one asked me about it. No one sent me money. No one confirmed the details with me. My mother's smile froze. "I only found out about the fund when Aunt Margaret called to ask if I had received everyone's contributions," I continued. "That's when I realized something strange was happening, so I did what I always do. I checked the details." I pulled a folded piece of paper from my clutch. It unfolded slowly. "This is a timeline, just dates and amounts, public information, nothing hidden." I held it up but didn't read it. I didn't need to. The venue deposit was paid 2 weeks before my wedding. The final payment is being split between a joint account and a credit card that belonged to my late grandmother. Faces shifted. People leaned forward. My mother's hand went to her throat. "That credit card," I said, "was supposed to be used only for family emergencies, medical bills, urgent repairs, things that couldn't wait." I looked at my mother. "I'm curious, Mom, what was the emergency?" She opened her mouth. I closed it. Her eyes darted to the exits. "And while we're asking questions," I said, turning back to the room, "I'm also curious about the flowers at my wedding. You told me you needed $500 for the florist deposit. I sent it immediately. But when I checked the invoice later, the deposit had already been paid in full. Where did my $500 go? Someone coughed. A glass clinked. The room had gone completely still. And of course, I said, my voice soft now, almost gentle, there's the wedding gift money, the envelope with our names on it, the one you took from the table during the reception. My mother's face went white. I'm not asking for the money back, I said. I let that sit. I'm not demanding apologies. I'm just asking questions, because I think other people here might have questions too. I looked at my aunt. Aunt Margaret, did you know that the family gift fund wasn't real? That no one else was organizing it? That your $2,000 went toward a party you thought we were all contributing to equally? Margaret's face crumpled. She looked at my mother. You said Betsy was handling it. My mother found her voice. This is a misunderstanding. Betsy, you're confused. Am I asked. I held up the paper again. These are bank statements, vendor invoices, text messages, all dated, all verifiable. Anyone here can check. I looked around the room. In fact, I encourage it. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Show me where I made a mistake. No one spoke. People were pulling out phones, checking messages. Aunt Margaret was scrolling furiously. Uncle Paul looked sick. The thing is, I said, I think my mother genuinely believes she's owed these things. I think she believes that raising me, supporting the family, being present, that all of it entitles her to take without asking. And maybe she's right. Maybe that's how she sees love. I set the microphone on the table, not dropped, not thrown, just placed gently. But I see it differently, and I think some of you might too. I walked back to my seat. The room erupted. My mother tried to speak. She grabbed the microphone. Everyone, please, this is ridiculous. My daughter is upset about something trivial. She's always been dramatic. But people weren't listening to her anymore. They were talking to each other. Aunt Margaret was standing now, her face red. You told me Betsy was organizing it. You told me it was a group effort. It was, my mother insisted. I just simplified the process. By lying, Uncle Paul's voice cut through the noise. By using our money without telling us. I didn't lie, my mother said. Her voice was shrill now, defensive. I organized this party for all of us, for the family. This is about family. Then why did you take Betsy's wedding money? Someone asked. I didn't see who. My mother's mask cracked. That money was excessive. They didn't need all of it. I've sacrificed everything for her. Everything she owes me. There it was, the truth she had whispered in the bathroom. The truth she actually believed. She didn't think she had stolen. She thought she had collected a debt. But now she had said it in front of 200 people. People who had just learned they had been used. People who were checking their bank accounts and text messages and realizing they had been lied to. The whispers grew louder. Glasses clinked. Some people started gathering their things. My mother stood alone at the front of the room, the microphone dangling from her hand, her silver gown suddenly looking less elegant and more like armor that had failed. She tried to recover. She laughed, but it sounded forced, brittle. You're all overreacting. This is a party. Let's not ruin it over a silly misunderstanding. But the room had shifted. The energy had changed. People weren't looking at her with admiration anymore. They were looking at her with suspicion, with recognition. How many of them had given her money over the years? How many had believed her stories? How many had their own envelopes that had disappeared? My cousin Jessica stood up from her table. You told me the venue cost $12,000. You said we were splitting it as a family. But if you used Grandma's emergency card and collected $6,000 from relatives, how much did this actually cost? My mother's mouth opened, closed. She had no answer that wouldn't make it worse. Patricia, the venue manager, appeared at the edge of the room. She looked uncomfortable. The total cost was $8,000, she said quietly, including catering, bar, and band. The math was simple. $8,000 party, $6,000 collected from the family, $2,000 from the emergency credit card. That meant my mother had paid nothing. In fact, she had pocketed money. Where's the rest? Someone asked. My mother's face flushed. I had expenses. Planning takes time. Coordination costs money. You told me Betsy was coordinating it, Aunt Margaret said. Her voice was shaking, not with sadness, with rage. You said she was handling everything. My mother pointed at me. She's poisoning you against me. She's always been jealous. It has always been difficult. But no one was buying it anymore. The performance had collapsed. My aunt stood up. I walked to the front, took the microphone from my mother's hand. I want to ask everyone here a question, she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. How many of you gave money to help pay for this party? Hands went up, 7, 8, 10. And how many of you were told Betsy was organizing it? All the hands stayed up. Margaret turned to my mother. You used your daughter's name to steal from your family. I didn't steal, my mother hissed. I managed, I coordinated, I made sure everything was perfect. With our money, Margaret said. Money you collected under false pretenses. Another voice spoke up. My mother's coworker, Linda. You did the same thing at the office fundraiser last year. You said you were collecting for the charity run, but the charity never received the full amount. My mother whirled around. That was a clerical error. Was it? Linda pulled out her phone. Because I have the receipt. I donated $200, but the charity's website shows only 75 were logged under our office. The room erupted again. More people were pulling out phones, checking receipts, comparing stories. The cracks weren't just showing. The foundation was crumbling. My mother looked around wildly. She found me in the crowd. Her eyes were desperate, pleading. Betsy, tell them this is a misunderstanding. I met her gaze. It's not a misunderstanding, Mom. It's a pattern. She recoiled like I had slapped her. My mother didn't stay for the cake. She didn't finish the champagne. She grabbed her purse and walked out of the ballroom, her heels clicking fast against the marble. A few people followed her. Not many. Most stayed behind, talking in low, urgent voices, checking their records, sharing stories. David appeared beside me. Are you okay? I'm okay, I said. And I was. I felt lighter. Not triumphant, not victorious, just lighter. Like I had put down something I had been carrying for too long. Patricia came over. I'm sorry you had to do that, she said quietly. I'm not, I said. It needed to be said. She nodded. For what it's worth, I believe you. And I'll be documenting everything on our end. If there are any discrepancies with payments, we'll be looking into it. Other people approached throughout the night. Some apologized for not noticing sooner. Some thanked me for speaking up. Some shared their own stories. My mother had borrowed money from Uncle Paul that was never repaid. She had asked Jessica to co-sign a credit card, then maxed it out. She had convinced multiple people that I was organizing collections that didn't exist. By 9 o'clock, the party was over. Not officially. The venue was paid for until midnight, but people left. They gathered their coats. They hugged each other. They exchanged phone numbers and promised to stay in touch, not to celebrate my mother, to protect each other. David and I walked to the car in silence. The night air was cool, clear. I could see stars. The fallout was swift. By Monday morning, my mother's phone was ringing constantly. Family members demanding explanations. Coworkers asking about the fundraiser. The venue sent formal letters about payment discrepancies. She tried calling me. I didn't answer. She sent texts. Long ones explaining, justifying, blaming. I read them once, then archived them. I didn't block her. I just stopped engaging. Aunt Margaret filed a formal complaint with the credit card company about unauthorized use of my grandmother's emergency card. Uncle Paul contacted a lawyer about the loan. My mother's carefully built reputation began to unravel one thread at a time. Her book club stopped inviting her. Her coworkers avoided her at the office. The invitations that used to fill her calendar dried up, not because anyone was cruel, just because people saw her clearly now, and they didn't like what they saw. She tried reaching out to David. Tell Betsy I'm sorry, she said in a voicemail. Tell her I didn't mean to hurt her. Tell her I love her. David played the message for me. I listened. Then I said, she's not sorry she did it. She's sorry she got caught." He didn't argue. He knew I was right. 3 months later, David and I signed papers on a small house. 2 bedrooms, a backyard, nothing fancy. We paid for it with money we had saved ourselves. No gifts, no borrowed funds, just ours. I got a promotion at work. My boss told me she appreciated my integrity, that the way I handled difficult situations with grace was rare. I didn't tell her about the party, but I think she knew anyway. My mother never contacted me directly again. She sent a card on my birthday. Generic, unsigned. I didn't respond. Aunt Margaret and I started having coffee once a month. We talked about family, about patterns, about how easy it is to ignore small hurts until they become massive wounds. She apologized for not seeing it sooner. I told her it wasn't her fault. My mother was good at hiding. Other family members reached out too. Slowly, carefully, testing whether I was open to rebuilding. I was, but not with her, not with the person who saw me as a resource instead of a daughter. David and I planted a garden in the backyard. Tomatoes, basil, flowers I didn't know the names of. We worked side by side in the dirt, quiet and content, building something that was ours, something no one could take. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I wish I had handled it differently, if I feel guilty for exposing my mother in front of everyone. I don't. I didn't scream. I didn't insult her. I didn't make anything up. I just told the truth and let people decide what to do with it. Some people chose to walk away from her. Some people chose to demand accountability. Some people chose to protect themselves. Those were their choices, not mine. The greatest gift I reclaimed that night wasn't the money. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was my freedom, the freedom to stop performing, to stop protecting her image at the expense of my reality, to stop being small so she could feel big. I learned something important. You don't need revenge that screams. You just need truth that stands still and lets others see. My mother taught me a lot over the years. She taught me how to organize, how to plan, how to keep calm under pressure. But the most valuable thing she taught me was what not to become. And for that, I'm almost grateful. What would you do in this situation? If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you were giving and giving while someone kept taking, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me your thoughts. And if stories like this help you feel less alone, hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just finally telling the truth.